The slap rang louder in the room than I thought possible. My mother-in-law's hand came down across my face with a sharp crack, leaving my cheek stinging and my pride bleeding. Before I could even process the humiliation, my sister-in-law leaned forward with a sneer, spitting at my feet, her eyes burning with cruelty. I froze, not because I was weak, but because I had promised myself I would not cause chaos in my husband's family. I had told myself 1,000 times that patience, kindness, and silence would win them over. But in that moment, as I stood there trembling, cheeks hot with shame, I realized, no amount of silence would change their hearts. They wanted me broken. My mother-in-law's voice sliced through the air. You are nothing, do you understand? My son deserves better than you, someone who can bring pride to this family, not shame. Shame. That word had been hurled at me since the day I married into this family. I wasn't from their elite circle. My parents were simple, hardworking people, and for my husband's family, that was enough to see me as unworthy. My sister-in-law laughed coldly. Look at her, standing there like a lost puppy. Pathetic. You think we'll ever accept you? You'll never be one of us. Her words hurt, but it wasn't new. What was new was the sound that followed, the slow, deliberate creak of the front door opening. Light from the hallway spilled in, and the entire room shifted. My mother-in-law's face paled, her hand falling to her side. My sister-in-law stiffened, her mockery frozen mid-smile. Because standing in the doorway, tall and immovable, was the man they both feared the most, my father. They had never met him, not properly. They knew of him, yes. They knew he was a quiet man, a retired army officer, respected in our community, feared when provoked. But they had underestimated him. They had assumed his silence was weakness. Now, his eyes burned like steel as he stepped into the room. What, he said, his voice calm but laced with deadly authority, did you just do to my daughter? The silence was unbearable. My mother-in-law stammered, we were only what? His gaze was unflinching. Only raising your hand against her. Only spitting on her. In my house, even my enemies' daughters were treated with dignity. And here, in your home, you disgrace yourselves by abusing your own son's wife. I had never seen them so terrified. My father didn't need to shout. His presence alone was enough to strip them of their arrogance. My husband, who had been upstairs, rushed down at the commotion. He stopped cold when he saw my tear-streaked face and the redness on my cheek. His eyes darted to his mother and sister, then to my father, and finally to me. What happened? He whispered, but the truth was written all over the room. They hit her, my father said simply. And you allowed it. That cut deeper than any slap. My husband's face collapsed in guilt. No, I didn't know, You chose not to see, my father interrupted, voice low but heavy. A man's first duty is to protect his wife. If he cannot do that, he has no right to call himself a husband. Tears filled my eyes because these were the words I had been too afraid to say. For so long, I had hoped my husband would defend me. But he never did. He always said, they'll come around, just give them time. That time had now run out. My mother-in-law tried to recover her composure, snapping, you have no right to lecture us in our house. But my father's reply was thunder. When you laid hands on my daughter, you gave me every right. The silence after that was suffocating. My sister-in-law muttered something under her breath, but she wouldn't even meet his eyes. My mother-in-law looked away, her face crumbling under the weight of his words. And then my father turned to me. His tone softened in a way that almost broke me completely. Daughter, he said, you don't have to live like this. You have a home where you are loved, respected, and cherished. You can walk out with me right now. My husband's face went white. He reached for me desperately. Please, don't go. I'll fix this. I promise, I'll stand by you this time. Just, don't leave me. I searched his eyes, looking for sincerity, for the man I once believed in. But the silence of the past years weighed heavier than his sudden promise. My father extended his hand, patient, unwavering. In that moment, I made a choice. I stepped forward, not to leave my marriage, but to reclaim my dignity. I looked at my husband squarely. If you mean those words, then prove it. Right here, right now. Stand up to them, not later, not someday, now. My husband trembled. His mother hissed, don't you dare. His sister shook her head violently. But my husband straightened, shoulders trembling yet determined. He turned to his mother and sister. If you ever touch her again, he said, his voice breaking but strong, you will lose me forever. She is my wife. She deserves your respect. And if you cannot give it, then we will not be a part of your lives. The room erupted in gasps. My mother-in-law's face twisted with fury, my sister-in-law stormed away, but I saw it, the shift. For the first time, my husband chose me. My father gave a small nod, satisfied. He didn't need to say more. He had already won. That day was not the end of the battles. My in-laws didn't change overnight, but the power they once held over me was broken. Because now, they knew there was a line they could never cross again. And more importantly, so did I. I realized that silence is not strength when it costs you your self-respect. I learned that sometimes, the people we love need to be pushed to stand up for us. And I discovered that behind me, I had a father who would walk through any door, at any time, to remind me that I was never alone. So, if you ask me what the turning point was, it wasn't the slap. It wasn't the spit. It was the moment the door opened, and light spilled in, carrying the strength I had forgotten I had all along. Because their worst nightmare wasn't my father. It was the truth, that I was no longer afraid of them.